Hey guys, my name is Ivan.
And I'm James.
And today we're going to be talking about arthropods.
Alright, so some basic characteristics of arthropods are they don't have a vertebrae, they have an exoskeleton, they have joint appendages, these are basically limbs, arms, and legs, and they have protostome development, which means they develop from the mouth. And Ivan's going to talk about what makes arthropods special.
Alright, so like James said, the characteristics that make arthropods special are ecdysis and segmented body. Ecdysis is pretty much a big word, a scientific big word for molting, and segmented bodies is just that arthropods have body parts that are in different segments. And there are different types of arthropods in our world. There are insects, arachnids, myriapods, and crustaceans. Today we're only going to be talking about the bottom three. Alright, so the first group that we're going to talk about are arachnids. And arachnids are easily identifiable by their two segmented bodies and the 8 legs that they have. And ticks, spiders, and scorpions usually fall under this group of arthropods.
Okay, so two adapted appendages of the arachnids are pretty important. These are the chelicerae and the pedipalps. These two things are used for feeding, defense, and sensory perception. Arachnids don't have antennae or wings, and they are from the subphylum Chelicerata of the group Arthropoda. And their old ancestors were marine animals, and they appeared about 445 million years ago.
The next group we're going to talk about are myriapods, and these are centipedes and millipedes. And the typical body anatomy of a myriapod is that it has multiple segmented bodies, and in each segment of its body it has a pair of legs. And the typical myriapod has anywhere from 10 to 750 legs. They also have a single pair of antennae that they use for sensing, and most of the time, or some of the times, they have eyes that they use for sensing as well.
One important characteristic of the centipede or the millipede are the spiracles that they have. Basically, these are air tubes that allow air to get to each individual cell of the body. The myriapods are a subphylum of arthropods, of course, and these are actually one of the oldest terrestrial animals, dating back to 428 million years ago.
So the next group we're talking about are the crustaceans. And these group of animals are typically found in your local sushi restaurants. Some common examples of crustaceans are crabs and lobsters.
Okay, so one important thing about the crustaceans is they have biramous limbs, which means they have 2 branches. That sets them apart from all other arthropods. Their body has 3 different segments. They have adapted appendages, and what I mean by that is some of them have multiple antennae, and some of them, like lobsters, have claws. And he's going to tell you about the history of them.
So there are over 40,000 species of crustaceans, and some crustaceans date back up to 600 million years ago. Now, an interesting fact about crustaceans is that the majority of them are aquatic, and they are very crucial to the food chain of the environment that they live in. Because many of the smaller crustaceans usually recycle food that will then be used throughout the food chain, and that is pretty awesome.
Alright guys, so we're going to talk about the sexual reproduction of each group, starting with arachnids. For arachnids, the males transfer sperm to the females with spermatophores, and the spermatophore enters the female through a genital opening. Most arachnids lay yolky eggs, which hatch into immature adults, and then the scorpions actually give birth to live young.
And similar to arachnids, crustaceans also reproduce the same way. They reproduce sexually, and in some cases, crustaceans can also reproduce asexually, where the eggs that are created by the female crustacean do not need to be fertilized by a male crustacean. Most females lay eggs that hatch into free-swimming larvae, though some hatch into tiny versions of adults.
For the myriapods, it's pretty similar. The males also use spermatophores, and they transfer that to the female externally, and these females lay eggs, so it's all pretty related. We're going to close here today with a couple of fun facts. The first being venom from spiders and scorpion species are being tested by researchers to cure diseases like cancer.
And did you know that there are 10 million tons of crustaceans that are produced for your and my consumption?
All right, guys, thank you for joining.